Even a man who's pure of heart says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is full and bright. That is a poem that refers to one of the oldest legends in the world, the legend of the man turning into the wolf, or, as we like to think of it, the man turning into the Dogman. Let's talk about it, and let's get weird. We've talked a lot about Dogman, but after being inspired by watching one of the great werewolf movies of all time, the movie called Dog Soldiers, I decided it was time to talk about this thing that we've kind of danced around the edges of in our other podcasts. The idea that maybe Dogman isn't Dogman all the time. Maybe he's actually a human who can make himself into a Dogman. What exactly would that even look like? I mean, how does somebody be a human part of the time and a wolf part of the time, or a Dogman?
Something that confuses me too, but I don't know. It's at this point it kind of just seems like during the day they're normal and during the night something happens, and that's just how they balance it.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it has to do with genetics. Some people have that, some people don't.
Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I just get into the logistics of it. I just think, when this person changes into a wolf, does he have to buy a whole new set of clothes every time he does it?
Oh, that'd be horrible.
Yeah. And, does he change in his living room and tear through his own furniture and rip his door off every time it happens? Or does he know when it's going to happen and he runs out into the deep woods naked and changes into a wolf? And if so, how come we're not finding naked people laying in the woods in the morning after this happens?
I don't know, it's something I just can't understand.
And do his family members know, their family members know about it? If so, are they driving them out to the middle of the woods and dropping them off and then picking them up first thing in the morning? Or are they chaining them up in the basement so they can't hurt anybody? It seems like it would be a lot.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I mean, what sort of person not what sort of person, but what would a person do to make this easier? I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is you would live as far away from people as humanly possible.
I guess keeping your head down, I guess you could say, just kind of ignoring most people.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the only way that I could think of.
I'm thinking full-on hermit, like moving out to the deep woods, living in a shack, never having to interact with people.
Yeah.
Then I think of the Beast of Bray Road. And I can't help it. Every time we drive down Bray Road, and I look at those secluded farms, and I'm thinking, wow, they've had sightings here for 40 years. What if one of these people is a werewolf, or a Rugaru, or a Skinwalker? What if the Beast of Bray Road is in there watching TV and eating his dinner right now, but 4 hours from now, they're going to be charging down the road on all fours? It's an interesting thought. But when we talk about shape-changing beasts or shape-changing people who turn into wolves or other beasts, there are basically three that come to mind. There's the werewolf, the skinwalker, and the Rugaru. Now, I'll start with the werewolf because it's kind of fresh in my mind. The story of the werewolf, the first one apparently was told as far back as 1800 BC in the Epic of Gilgamesh. There were also werewolf legends in Greek mythology. That's actually where the word lycanthrope, which means werewolf, comes from. The Greek word lycan or lycaon, from the legends. Basically, most werewolf legends are similar in the fact that they change into a wolf during the full moon, which is, once a month. They usually become a werewolf because of a curse. Now, in the classic movie The Wolfman, which actually features the poem that I started this with, it was a gypsy's curse that turned someone into a werewolf. And then after that, you get turned into a werewolf by being bitten by a werewolf. The other thing that seems pretty common in werewolf mythology is that you can kill a werewolf with silvered weapons. A silver bullet or silver dagger or silver arrow, whatever you can kill it with that's made of silver will work. I will say when it comes to werewolf movies, there are some great ones. I mean, Dog Soldiers is one of my favorites. American Werewolf in London is a great one, although tremendously violent. The Wolfman, classic. It taught me everything I needed to know about werewolves when I was just a kid. And the portrayal by Lon Chaney Jr. of this apologetic, mild-mannered man who just can't help but turn into a werewolf once a month. It really gives you so much sympathy for the creature and makes you think, oh my gosh, what if there are people actually living like this who don't want to hurt anybody, but once a month they turn into this bloodthirsty creature.
Yeah. Thinking about the full moon thing you said, I remember when we went to Bray Road the first time, I think we actually went during a full moon.
We did. We did.
And we didn't see Dogman anywhere.
No.
And I remember one of our commenters once said that that Dogman doesn't show up during a full moon.
Right.
So I just found that kind of weird.
Yeah, I think he said it was during a waning moon or something, which would completely destroy the traditional werewolf theory.
Yeah.
So either Dogman is not a werewolf or the werewolf legends are not 100% accurate.
Yeah, maybe the timing of a full moon was a coincidence and it just launched super high in stories.
Yeah,
you never know.
It could also be that, way back in time, before electricity existed, the only time you could really see things was during a full moon. So, maybe Dogman was out there running around all the time, but they only saw him on the full moon nights because otherwise it was just a noise in the dark.
That's a fair point.
So, the next version of the shape-changing Wolfman or Dogman is the Skinwalker.
It's mainly known from the Navajo tribes. Basically, they're this is supposed to be the opposite of a Native American medicine man, where they basically just act in evil. They attack people. The medicine man is supposed to heal people, but the Skinwalker is actually supposed to kill people, so it's the opposite.
And some Skinwalkers actually start as medicine men, I believe. They're good, but they turn evil, kind of like the old Star Wars thing, turning to the dark side. What I had always heard is that it takes an act of supreme evil for a medicine man or any person to become a Skinwalker. The big example that I always hear is, killing someone you love. And sometimes even eating the flesh of that person. Just an act of reprehensible, horrible evil would cause you to become a Skinwalker. Now, but Skinwalkers don't just change into wolves, right?
No, they can also turn into different animals, probably depending on what skin they have at the time. I've heard that they could turn into bears, for example.
Now, one other thing about Skinwalkers, it's very hard to gather information on them because true believers will not even speak about Skinwalkers. They won't even say the name because they fear that it will summon one.
Oh yeah, and it could get its attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one who shall not be named.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I can believe it. I mean, from images, it does look kind of skinny and ugly in its, I guess, humanized form.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, they're known to make, loud noises sometimes. Something a Dogman has also done sometimes. So.
Can a Skinwalker do, the Wendigo trick where it imitates voices? I thought I'd heard that.
It's kind of a standard of a Skinwalker to make weird human screaming noises. It's always kind of creepy to see those, but I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah. But a Skinwalker, unlike a werewolf, they don't change involuntarily. I think a Skinwalker changes when they want to, right? They put the skin on and they transform into whatever they want to be.
Yeah, because they could camouflage sometimes in their environment. And of course, if they're a Dogman, they wouldn't really get found. They wouldn't be found as a Dogman if they did that, or as a creepy Skinwalker.
Yeah.
Well, our last version of the shape changer is actually kind of a combination of the first two. It's the Cajun legend of the Rugaru.
Yeah, now the origins of this, I guess, cryptid is actually from both European and Native American folklore. in the medieval France during the plague, and when they were actually like against witches and all those different beasts, they made a lot of claims that a lougarou, which is what they actually call it, would actually happen if you were to miss a day of Lent, which is a Catholic tradition. And then also, if a rougarou were to bite you, the idea was that you would turn into one naturally.
Now, loup-garou is actually the French word for werewolf, right?
Yes, it is. And that, with that idea, that kind of brings the idea that a werewolf is almost a template for all these different things. Because it's standard. I'll put it that way.
But then the rougarou, they incorporate some of the Skinwalker into it too, right? Because it's like Native American and European.
Yeah, Cajun, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but Cajun tribes have definitely made stories about that as well that are pretty similar.
Yeah, I remember one in particular. I was watching it was one of my famous Tubi movies. It was On the Trail of the Rugaru. They were talking about this particular tribe in Louisiana that was at war with a bigger and more warlike tribe, and they were nearly wiped out. And in a final act of desperation, they did the ritual to transform everyone in their tribe into basically a skinwalker, but they called it a rougarou. And they turned into these vicious animals that just tore into the other tribe and eventually won the war.
Okay, so this kind of cryptid has a very differentiation where it's much more violent and is definitely willing to eat a lot of humans.
Yeah,
I think you could say.
Yeah. Another thing similar to the Skinwalker, they're known to like eat people.
These all kind of have one thing where they can all transform into at least one main thing, from a human to another animal. But yeah, I should also mention that a rougarou, I guess term you could say, only lasts 1 year. You know, with the werewolf, it might only last one night.
Well, see, I'm not sure what that means exactly, because I don't know if that means they stay in wolf form for an entire year, or if it means that they change into a wolf every night for an entire year, or if they change once a month for a year.
You know, that's a good question, because that would be a good way to kind of combine a werewolf with a rougarou, the same idea.
Yeah.
And that would work, technically.
I go back to another good show, These Woods Are Haunted. There was a rougarou episode there where a man meets a woman in a record store and she invites him to meet her at this place, and the guy gets there and she's not there, but there are these 3 other guys there who are also invited. And then suddenly this wolf appears, this giant wolf, and ends up hunting them. He finds out later the wolf is actually the woman, that she's the rougarou. And for that to happen, she had to be able to change from human into wolf pretty quickly. But the question is, was it, just full moon that she changed? Was it because it got dark? Was it because she chose to change? I think the rougarou, more so than the werewolf or the skinwalker, is a little more vague on the rules in terms of changing.
Yeah, definitely.
And, again, what you said about the not following the tradition of Lent, I mean, that raises a lot of questions for me, because that, does that mean only Catholics can turn into rougarous? Because otherwise every Jewish person, every Muslim, they'd all be rougarou.
Yeah, I have to say, in Europe, especially at that time frame, they made a lot of bold claims in Catholic religions. They turned almost everything into that kind of scenario.
Yeah, that's true. They were very religious and there wasn't the separation of church and state. So pretty much when the church made a rule, you accepted it as law, even if it was, the rule is that you don't eat meat on Fridays or you change into a werewolf.
Yeah.
But, I can tell you from experience that, I have not always followed perfect Lenten tradition, and I have not yet changed into a werewolf to the best of my knowledge, so.
Me neither.
I think that part of it may be false. The rougarou term lasting a year thing, I also don't know if that's only if they catch another person and change them into a rougarou to take their place, or if it's just like, okay, made it through the year, I'm done now.
Yeah. Or maybe just a demon possesses a human somehow and it just transforms in one weird way.
I think that was kind of the way they made it sound in that movie that I watched. It was almost like the spirit of the rougarou at the end of the year leaves this person and looks for another vulnerable soul. The sort of person who eats meat on Fridays during Lent.
Or they could, I suppose, go underground, like into tunnels, because that's what we often see with Dogman, or at least some stories say.
True. Yeah, it could be that they're not really done being a rougarou at the end of the year. They might just hide.
Yeah.
Oh, I should mention, by the way, that movie, Dog Soldiers. It had the werewolves or dogmen attacking from out of the mist in the beginning of it. So they were definitely on with the research. So, in conclusion, what do you guys think? Do you think it's possible that somebody could be a part-time human, part-time wolf-like creature?
With all of the wide, bold claims, it would be very difficult to combine them all, like a skinwalker, a werewolf, and a rougarou, all I guess assumed as one human being. In the end, it's possible. I'll put it at that.
Yeah, I suppose it's possible, but I haven't heard like many individual stories about it, so I can't really say like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, with the exception of that one story from These Woods Are Haunted, I can't think of a modern telling of a werewolf story, like a legitimate, eyewitness account of a werewolf. I mean, I hear lots of accounts of Dogman, seeing them in their wolf form, but not many people claiming to see one change, or not many people saying, yes, I saw Dogman, and then the next day I saw, Larry with the same cut on his cheek that the dog had, or something like that.
No, it never happened today.
And with all the YouTube videos we've watched on Dogman, you'd think it would have come up at some point.
Yeah, never has.
Yeah. But, again, it's a wonderful explanation for why Dogman sometimes just disappears. He's there for a night or 2 nights, and then suddenly nobody sees him again, sometimes for a year, and then he comes back to the exact same spot. Well, those are our thoughts on it. If you have any thoughts on it, we would love to hear them. As always, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for telling your friends.